Hey, Chaz Marler here from Pair of Dice Paradise, joined again by my sneaky little co-hostess, V-Bug.
Hi.
Who has a fiddle with her this time.
Hi.
How about you play it we'll have that be the scene after the credits.
Okay.
In addition to fiddle playing, we are here to talk about the games that are going to be entering our collection this month. Because we have received a shipment of games. So as always, we thought it would be interesting to open this up on camera and share what's in the box, which games are going to be joining our collection, and which games, if any, are going to be cycling out of our collection.
How does it feel to have box replace you for once?
It feels horrible. So would you like to do the honors and open up the box? And there should be I think there's about 3 games in this month's delivery.
Yeah.
Harness the power of Grayskull. Harness it. Okay, reach in there and bring me the first thing. Oh, here we go. First item in our box of fun this month is actually not a full game, but an expansion. Under the Pyramids expansion for Eldritch Horror. So here's Eldritch Horror, the base game, and at least one or two expansions in here. And you can see I have it all packed in there pretty darn tight. So Under the Pyramids is an expansion for Eldritch Horror. So this item isn't really replacing a game in our collection. It's just an expansion that adds on to a game. But Eldritch Horror is a game that replaced a different game that wasn't actually in our collection but was being considered for our collection called Arkham Horror. Arkham Horror is this big convoluted game that was so big that one of its expansions had its own expansion. It's true. So needless to say, that game kind of was too big and there was too much and it got kind of convoluted and overwrought. Eldritch Horror, though, has the feeling of circling the globe, solving mysteries, battling monsters and such, and working together as a team to do so. So Eldritch Horror replaced the desire for Arkham Horror in my collection. And the Under the Pyramids expansion doesn't replace the game, obviously. It just adds on to it. I'll add in a little bit of footage of what's in the expansion with some more information about it, too. The Eldritch Horror Under the Pyramids expansion features an Egypt sideboard, which enables investigators to explore the nation's bustling cities, barren deserts, and mysterious archaeological sites. 8 intrepid new investigators will join your struggle against the ancient ones, aided by invaluable relics, powerful glamour spells, glamour, and legendary allies, including the archaeologist Enoch Bowen, I love his work, and the illusionist Eric Weiss. Unprecedented wonders and horrors await you and your team under the pyramids by the shores of the Nile. Just bring out the next thing in the box.
Here you go.
All right, and bring me the one that's like this one. This is 2 copies of the World's Finest Dice Masters expansion for the Dice Masters line. Now, Dice Masters started with Marvel Dice Masters, which is cool in and of itself. Dice Masters started with Marvel Dice Masters, and they released several sets, which are cool. And then they branched off into like D&D Dice Masters, Yu-Gi-Oh! Dice Masters, and we haven't collected any of those. I did get the first DC Comics expansion that they released, and I think it was just... I don't remember what it was called. It was this one! There we go. So when World's Finest was released, I thought it would be nice to add a couple of those to the collection so that we could have Marvel versus DC a little bit. I think there's also one about the Green Lantern Corps, which I haven't bothered to get yet because it seemed pretty specific, and I wanted kind of just a general roster of DC heroes. But with adding these to the collection, I think I'm pretty much done with Dice Masters now. I think I pretty much have everything I need. And unless there's a few more general roster, maybe another expansion with some more DC heroes and villains, probably have everything I'm going to get for Dice Masters at this point. Because it just hasn't taken off the way that I think everyone hoped it would. So that's the DC World's Finest Dice Masters expansion in the box. Probably one of the final Dice Masters expansions that I'm planning on getting at this point. But it was in the box.
My feet hurt.
I'm sorry your feet hurt. Why don't you put on shoes? Speaking of what's in the box, let's get the third and final thing out of this month's box.
Yeah.
Just never mind.
I'll be back momentarily. There's a giant hole in the bottom of it.
There's a giant hole in the bottom of it. So much for our plan to not get peanuts all over the floor this time. So the last item in the box this month is a game that was kind of released around Gamma. A game called Millennium Blades. Sorry, I hid you there. Millennium Blades is a card game about playing a customizable card game. So, for the viewing audience, let's insert some information about Millennium Blades here. Now, Millennium Blades is a board game about a fictional collectible card game, which is also called Millennium Blades. Well, that's clear. So you begin the game with some starter cards, and during the course of playing, you'll get new packs, you'll form a collection, and you'll sell junk cards on an aftermarket, buy hot new cards, and trade with the other players. You'll build your deck, and then after all of that, you will compete at the Millennium Blades World Championship. So, wow, there's a lot going on in this game. So since this is a game about competitive deck building, you're going to start with a limited pool of cards, and then tinker them into the most unfairly overpowered, table-flippingly broken deck that you can imagine. In addition to deck building, you'll be spectating on you'll do something else. And in addition to deck building, you'll be speculating on blind pack buys, selling and buying cards on the aftermarket, and fusing your cards to make rarer and better ones to get an advantage over the competition. You might even make a few friends if you're willing to help them out. So I won't be making any friends because I'm not willing to help them out. Go me. So Millennium Blades was talked about a lot at Gamma, and shortly after Gamma it was released, and it's received pretty good reception. I'd say about 75%, 80% positive reception so far from the people who've played it. I'm really looking forward to this one because, as you know, I was really into Magic the Gathering in the mid-90s, even though you weren't there to see it. And supposedly this game captures some of that chasing rare cards, opening packs, buying packs, and there's actually kind of two phases to the game. There's the phase of buying cards and collecting cards and making decks, and then actually playing those decks against opponents in tournaments and stuff. So I'm looking forward to see how that works.
I was this small when Magic the Gathering was first introduced to Dad.
So there's a look at what's being added to our collection this month. We have an expansion for Eldritch Horror, not the last expansion that we'll be getting if they release more. An expansion for the Dice Masters line, probably the last expansion I'll be getting for that, unless they release something very specific. And Millennium Blades, a game about collecting and playing a game. So you know me, if it's meta, that gets my interest, and also collectible card games and those type of games also catch my interest. So whoop. So there you go. And let us know in the comments below what your experience has been with Dice Masters, because it seems a lot of people are a little frustrated that it's never taken off as much as they hoped it would. But I'm wondering if that's just the people that have been most vocal in the online board game community. So let us know what your impressions are of the Marvel Dice Masters line. And also, let us know if you have any experience with Millennium Blades, how you've been enjoying it so far. Would love to know that as well, so we can compare it to our own experiences. And that's it for now. But in the meantime, until we speak to you next, for more board game news, reviews, and commentary, be sure to subscribe to both the Dice Tower and Pair of Dice Paradise YouTube channels. And while you're at it, follow us on Twitter and Facebook as well. Until our next video, I've been Chaz Marler with my co-hostess VBug, and thank you for watching and take care.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at coolstuffinc.com.
And now, some fiddling.